Hey guys, Pete Mercer here, and on a lot of workout videos I see a bunch of comments from people about the person's form, and it's usually to do with how far they're stretching, are they going too far on the eccentric, and even are they going too far back on the concentric. So this brings up the topic of locking out and peak contraction. So everyone knows when you're working out a certain muscle, what you need to do is engage the muscle in the lift. So let's say, for example, you're doing a bench press. What you need to do, you start out, generally accept, you start out flat, and then you push out. So a lot of people say, well, the only way that you're going to engage the muscle is to fully, go through your range of motion to the extent it can. And by doing that, you lock out the arms. Same again, your shoulder military press, or let's say you're doing hamstring or leg extensions. And whenever you have to bring your leg as far as you can, and that's the only way to engage the muscle. Well, there are a few problems with this. One could be that, let's say that you've had an injury in the past, you don't have particularly good range of motion, or your shoulders aren't as strong as they could be, and again, you don't have that range of motion. Second to that, there can be a real problem if you lock out a muscle and you jam it. And this can happen. You've got a lot less control of what's happening. Let's say, for example, you're doing dumbbell presses and you lock out and you lose control or you lose grip or something happens and something goes wrong. You're not going to be able to move your arms in any way and except straight, and they're going to fall out and you're going to cause yourself all sorts of problems. So it's one of these things. It's, yes, you obviously want to do as much contraction as you can to try and engage the muscle, but there's a smarter approach to really doing it, and that's basically where peak contraction comes in. So a lot of people say, yeah, lock out the muscle or your arms or whatever whatever movement you're doing, and that's how you create your peak contraction. It's not necessarily the way it's going to happen. Let's say you're doing your chest press again. You engage the chest, so when you're lifting through the whole range of motion, squeeze your chest, feel the muscle. Once you feel the muscle fully, engorged or compressed or whatever, however you want to describe it, when you feel the sensation and you say, right, okay, my muscle has now achieved as the peak contraction you're going to get out of it, that's as far as you need to move. So for some people, let's say you've got shorter arms than others, or you've got long legs, this is going to affect how you lift. And so many people say, oh, why aren't you going as deep in your squats, or why are you going further back, why are your arms going further back when you're doing pressing movements, things like that. And it usually people has to do with your height and how that's going, that affects your range of motion. And people say, right, well, I'm taller, that's, and some people say that's why I don't squat as low. Some people also say that's not an excuse to squat any lower than someone else, in ratio proportion. That's another thing you need to consider is, just because you're tall, should you be, should you go further down, should you go further back? Just because you can doesn't mean, one, it's a good idea, doesn't mean, two, you're going to be safe when you're doing it, because it's all about form at the end of the day. And form isn't, it's not science, mathematics. You don't say, right, so my arm starts at X degrees and moves to Y degrees, and your arm straightens to a line perpendicular to your body. That's not how it works. It's all about engaging the muscle. So all you have to do, if you're doing squats, you go as low as it takes to engage your your quads and your glutes and your calves, and then once you say, okay, I've now engaged the muscle, that's when you move. It's the same if you're doing your military press. If it takes you to go down here to feel the squeeze, let's say in your back and you're pressing out, it's only as far as you need to feel the muscle engaged. It's all about your peak contraction, really. So I would never really consider lifting in terms of locking out and saying, right, so here I am here I am here, I've now, that is one lift, that is one rep, I have successfully completed it, I will now go back. That's not really how it works. It's really down to the contraction of the muscle. So it's, I could start here and I could go to there and say, right, well, I fully engaged my chest. So you go back again, and it's as simple as that. So this is something that a lot of people say about, the comments all the time about, why aren't you squatting low enough? Why are your shoulders and arms going so far back? It's up to the individual person and what they do. Obviously, you might be doing things more or less than you think, because, it tends to be when you film something, you think, that's not how I'm doing it. You don't process your movements the way you're actually doing them. So that's something you could consider as well. But it really is up to each individual person. Once you've hit that peak contraction, your rep's done, put it back again and go again. And it's as simple as that. So that's maybe something to think about if you know, if you have joint problems, which is a real big one, and you know, if you get, you know, certain pains and things like that there, you know, you might be locking out and you might be going too far in your movements. So, you know, consider more about the muscle than your angles and things like that there, because it's not a science. It's really just, you know, it's simple. It's down to feel. You know, once you feel the muscle, boom, you're done. So, anyway, that's it for me. I'm Pete Mercer. Take it easy.